Hello and good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Hafiz Marzukhi. Two individuals were brought to court today for communication offences linked to the death of a TikTok content creator. Both pleaded guilty to their respective charges.
B. Satish Kumar, a lorry driver, pleaded guilty to posting lewd comments on TikTok with the intention of annoying others. He also faces a second charge of posting lewd comments with the intention to outrage the modesty of the late content creator's mother. Meanwhile, welfare home owner Shalini Priyasamy was fined 100 ringgit in default of 7 days imprisonment for deliberately uttering vulgarities with intention to incite anger and to disturb peace through her TikTok account. Shalini had reportedly gone live on the social media platform and made threats against those who opposed her, which led the victim to lodge a police report. The victim was found dead in her condominium a day later.
The government is considering a proposal to amend the Penal Code to introduce specific provisions for the offence of cyberbullying. Law and Institutional Reform Minister Datuk Seri Azalina Othman Said says that although there are several provisions under existing legislation, they are general and do not explicitly address the offence of cyberbullying.
The criminal elements under the existing provisions, she said, make investigation and prosecution difficult, which could be one of the reasons why the public takes cyberbullying lightly. The existing provisions are the Penal Code Act 574, the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998, Act 588, and the Computer Crimes Act 1997, Act 563. According to her, the proposed amendment will define the term cyberbullying and classify it as a specific offence in Malaysia. She said the government is also refining policies for the proposal to draft a new bill aimed at increasing the accountability of online service providers regarding online safety issues, particularly harmful content involving child victims, including cyberbullying cases.
The Education Ministry welcomes retired English teachers who are keen to return to classrooms. Its Minister Fadlina Siddiq says there is already a program in place to improve teaching and learning of the English language.
Tidak ada masalah untuk kita membuka ruang kepada pesara-pesara ini untuk bersama dengan kita dan menyumbang kepakaran mereka dan memberi cadangan-cadangan bagaimana untuk kita dapat menyediakan dan mempelajari bahasa Inggeris dengan lebih berkesan.
Fadlina also said the proposed scheme to bring in voluntary English teachers from Singapore was currently under review. She said her ministry would work to identify qualified volunteers to ensure quality teaching.
Kim Pangon has stepped down as Harimau Malaya coach, citing personal commitments. Upon the announcement, the Football Association of Malaysia proceeded to appoint his assistant, Pau Marti Vicente, as the interim head coach.
My hope is that the FAM, the government and all Malaysians will continue to give the national team their support and encouragement to achieve the next goal of qualifying for the Asian Cup for the second consecutive time. For the rest of my life, I will always remember the white blue skies of Malaysia, the cloud and trees, the friendly, lovely, polite Malaysian peoples.
Pangon replaced Tan Cheng Ho as head coach in 2022 and was then given a contract extension until 2025. Under his tenure, Harimau Malaya reached their highest world ranking in 18 years, peaking at 130. Over the last 2 years, the team secured 17 wins, 2 draws and 8 defeats. Pangon also played a pivotal role in transforming the team's fortunes on the international stage, most notably guiding them to qualify for the Asian Cup for the first time in 43 years. During the tournament in Doha, Malaysia also scored a memorable 3-3 draw against South Korea, but did not progress beyond the group stage in January.
A 26-year-old man believed to be the boyfriend of Nur Farah Kartini Abdullah has been remanded for 7 days to assist in the investigation into her suspected murder. Earlier today, the suspect was presented at the Kuala Kubu Baru Magistrates Court. The investigation is being conducted under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder, which carries a death penalty. 25-year-old Nur Farah, originally from Miri, Sarawak, was reported missing on July 11th after delivering a rental car to a customer in Tanjung Malim, Perak. Her body was found in an oil palm plantation in Kampung Sri Keledang, Hulu Selangor on Monday evening. Perak and Selangor police have confirmed that the main suspect in the murder investigation is a police officer attached to the Slim River police station. We'll go for a short break. Stay with us.
Penyasaran subsidi diesel di Semenanjung tidak akan memberi kesan kepada harga barangan keperluan di Sabah, Sarawak dan Labuan.
660 individu berusia bawah 21 tahun di Sarawak telah diberikan kewarganegaraan.
Sarawak kini menjalinkan kerjasama dengan Bank Dunia dalam menjayakan perdagangan karbonnya.
Welcome back. Donald Trump selected J.D. Vance, a Republican U.S. Senator from Ohio, as his running mate for the 2024 presidential elections. The news emerged at the start of the 4-day Republican National Convention in Milwaukee to nominate the party's presidential ticket. The selection of James David Vance, author of the best-selling memoir Hillbilly Elegy, could help boost turnout for Trump in the November 5th election. The Ohio native is deeply popular with the Republican candidate's base. A staunch conservative from a Republican state, Vance is unlikely to bring many new voters into Trump's corner and may even alienate some moderates. Some Trump supporters had pushed him to select a woman or person of color as his number 2 to expand a coalition that skews toward white men. Several advisors to Trump said the former president, who survived an assassination attempt at Pennsylvania campaign rally on Saturday, instead focused on choosing a running mate he trusted and got along with. Now, what will the 39-year-old J.D. Vance bring to the race to the White House? Andrew Smith, political science professor at the University of New Hampshire, shares his analysis.
I think Vance is somebody, despite the background that I spoke of, is really seen as somebody who is representative or who understands the blue-collar workers of the rural American citizenry, which is the core of Donald Trump's party. And when you get down to an election in modern times, it's not so much about convincing people in the middle to switch over and vote for your candidate. It's to mobilize your party's base. And I think somebody like a J.D. Vance would certainly do a lot to mobilize Donald Trump's more rural, more blue-collar base. Because if they think of the battleground states that are out there, they really are states like Ohio, former industrial states, a large rural white population that is hasn't benefited by economic growth in recent years. These are the states that Trump was able to pull away from the Democrats back in 2016 when he ran against Hillary Clinton, lost several of them in 2020. So, Pennsylvania is right next door to Ohio. Michigan's right next door to Ohio. Wisconsin is not that much different than Ohio. So I think that somebody like Vance, if he's used to speak to these sorts of voting groups in these swing states, could be very useful on the campaign trail, simply because he kind of speaks the language that those people understand.
4 people were killed and several others wounded after a shooting near a mosque in Oman's capital, Muscat. Authorities say they are now collecting evidence as part of an ongoing investigation into the incident.
The shooting occurred early on Tuesday in a district east of the capital during a major religious event for Shia Muslims. Local reports suggest that at least one gunman opened fire with an assault rifle. Police have not identified any motive or potential suspects in the attack, and a state of emergency was declared in the area. Such violence is rare in the Sultanate, which has regularly played the role of mediator in regional conflicts, including disputes between the US and Iran.
Thousands of riot police were deployed at university campuses across Bangladesh following violent protests against a government job quota system. Over 100 people were injured in the clashes. Protesters are demanding an end to the quota that reserves 30% of government jobs for family members of veterans who fought in Bangladesh's 1971 War of Independence.
Each year, around 3,000 government positions become available for nearly 400,000 graduates. Protesters argue that the current quota appointments are discriminatory and should be based on merit. Some claim that the system unfairly benefits groups supporting Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. In contrast, some cabinet ministers criticise the protesters, accusing them of playing on students' emotions. The quota system also reserves government jobs for women, disabled people and ethnic minority groups. The system was suspended in 2018 following similar protests, but last month the High Court ruled to restore the 30% quota for veterans' descendants.
The Spanish men's football team arrived back on home soil after their Euro 2024 triumph and celebrated by parading through the streets of Madrid in an open-top bus. Luis de la Fuente's side were greeted by tens of thousands of cheering Spaniards as they made their way across the city to Plaza de Cibeles to present the trophy. Spain defeated England 2-1 on Sunday with substitute Mikel Oyarzabal grabbing an 86-minute winner after Nico Williams had opened the scoring just after half-time. La Roja were convincing champions, winning all 7 of their matches on their way to lifting a record-setting 4th European title. While pundits praised the team's exciting style of play on the pitch, many Spaniards have applauded the diverse team's off-the-field impact, fostering unity in a country with a history of regional tensions and political polarization. Meanwhile, England manager Gareth Southgate has resigned after a second consecutive defeat in the Euros finals. The 53-year-old announced that Sunday's final in Berlin was his last game in the role, saying it is time for change and a new chapter.
Southgate managed the national football team for 102 games during his 8-year tenure. He initially took charge on a caretaker basis in September 2016 after Sam Allardyce's sudden departure and had previously indicated it was time to step down if England did not bring a trophy home from Germany. He is the only manager, apart from 1966 World Cup winner Sir Alf Ramsey, to lead the England men's team into a major tournament final. Under him, the team also reached the World Cup semi-finals in 2018 and quarter-finals in 2022. His contract was set to expire later this year.
The Olympic torch made its way up the Eiffel Tower on its journey around Paris ahead of the Summer Games kicking off at the end of the month. The flame arrived in France's capital city on Sunday after almost 2 months of zigzagging through the country and French overseas territories.
Around 10,000 people were chosen to carry the flame across France from the southern city port of Marseille, where it arrived on May 8th. Many of the torchbearers are athletes, but others were selected to represent culture, charities and art, including K-pop artist Jin of the South Korean boy band BTS. The relay will culminate with the lighting of the cauldron during the opening ceremony later this month. The 2024 Paris Olympics will be held from July 26th to August 11th, with the Paralympics to follow from August 28th to September 8th.
And that wraps up this edition of AWANI Tonight. I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Thanks for watching and good night.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda, tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada.